Hello everyone, my name is Dee and welcome to my channel, Patterns by Dee Designs. Listed here are all my social media platforms. Today's tutorial is on the Johnnie Jumpsuit. And if you would like to purchase this $15 PDF pattern, please direct message me on my Instagram or Facebook page. Now let's start off with all 12 pattern pieces. Pattern piece number 1 is the front bodice. You would need to cut 1 on the fold. Pattern piece number 2, which is the back bodice, you would have to cut 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 3, which is the collar, you would have to cut 2 on the fold and cut 1 interfacing. Pattern piece number 4, which is the front waistband, you would have to cut 2 on the fold and cut 1 interfacing. Pattern piece number 5, which is the pocket, you have to cut 4 pieces of fabric. What I did was I cut 2 linings and 2 pieces of fabric for the pockets. Pattern piece number 6, which is the front pants, you have to cut 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 7, which is the back waistband, you have to cut 4 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 8, which is the back pants, you cut 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 9, which is the belt loops, you cut 1 piece of fabric. Pattern piece number 10, which is the belt, you will cut 2 pieces of fabric on the fold and cut 1 interfacing. Pattern piece number 11, which is the front bottom pant cuff, you will cut 2 pieces of fabric. Pattern piece number 12, this is the back bottom pant cuff, you will cut 2 pieces of fabric. Now for pattern pieces number 4, which is the front waistband, and pattern piece number 7, which is the back waistband. If you want a stiffer waistband, you can add interfacing to 1 cut on the fold for pattern piece number 4 and 2 pieces of fabric for pattern piece number 7. And these are all the interface pieces. Now once all your pattern pieces are cut out, don't forget to transfer all your notch markings and your dot markings, and also your dart and your pleat markings as well. Now we're going to start putting pattern piece number 1, which is the front bodice, together. So with the right sides of your fabric facing you, you're going to pin at the dots and match the notches. Starting with the right side of the front bodice, you're going to pin at the notch, and you're going to pin at the first dot, matching each dot. Now put the pin through the dot and then find the other dot on the other side of the pleat. Make sure they're even and pin. And you see how the pleats are. So you're going to do the same thing for the other side. But first you're going to stitch from the notch to the dot on all the pleats. Now you're going to backstitch at the beginning, at the top at the notch, and And then you're going to leave at the bottom, at the dot, you're going to leave some thread out so you can tie your pleat to reinforce it a little better. So you lift your needle up, pull up your pressure foot, and cut. And this is how it should look on the right side of your fabric. But you're going to tie your darts down, but first you have to pull it to one of the sides that you want to tie your dart on. So if you look very closely, when you pull your thread, you'll see the other thread coming through. So you'll pull that through with a needle or a pin like I'm doing here. And you see how it came through? And then you're going to tie. Probably tie it like 2 or 3 times. Now on the wrong side of your bodice, front bodice, all your pleats, press all your pleats towards the shoulder on each side, as you see here. And then once you get finished pressing your pleats, you're going to stay stitch the edge of the neck. And this is how the neckline should look. Now to attach your darts on the front bodice and the back bodice, you first have to, with the right sides of your fabric facing each other, match the notches at the waist edge and pin at the dot. Now, like you did before with the pleats, you're going to do the same thing for the darts. By starting at the waist edge at the notches, you're going to back stitch. And leave some to tie. Now to tack down your darts on the front and your back bodices, you're going to press your darts toward your side seam and edge stitch 1/8 of an inch from your waist edge. Now working with pattern piece number 2, the back bodice, you're going to tack down your back darts. With right sides of the fabric facing, you're going to pin at the notches and pin at the dot. So you're going to stitch at the notches at the waist edge all the way up to the dot for both sides.
Now you're going to stay stitched the dart down at the waist edge.
We're going to attach your front and your back bodices together at the shoulder seam and the side seams. Now with right sides facing, you're going to match the back shoulder at the notches. And match the notches on the sides, the side seam.
Using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to stitch the shoulder seam and the side seam.
Now we're going to attach the collar on the right sides of the neckline. And you're going to use the UnInterfaced piece of your collar. So with right sides facing, with the notches matching the shoulder seams, we're going to pin starting at the shoulders, with right sides of the fabric facing each other, and pin the corners at the center back, and pin at the center front. Normally I make slits on the collar fold and also a notch slit at the center front of the front bodice. So now you can start pinning around the neckline. You're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch around the neckline to attach the collar. Now you're going to trim 1/4 of an inch off the seam allowance. Now we're going to attach pattern piece number 4, which is the front waistband, and pattern piece number 7, which is the back waistband, together.
You're going to take both pieces, the interface pieces and the interface pieces, and match the notches on the side seams and pin. Now you're going to use 5/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides.
Now once you got finished pressing your seam allowances flat on your waistbands, we're going to use the UnInterfaced piece to attach to your waist edge of your top. So with right sides facing, you're going to take the straighter edge of your waistband and match it to the waist edge of your front bodice and your back bodice.
Now you're going to start pinning by matching the side seams, the center front, and the notches. And then you're going to pin the center back. Now you're going to stitch across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now you're going to trim 1/4 of an inch off of the seam allowance on your waist edge.
Now after you trimmed 1/4 of an inch off your waist edge, you're going to make a couple notches in the curve to make a looser curve in the areas that go around your waist. And then also, don't forget to press the seam downwards into your waistband. Now we're going to set this aside and work on the pants. Now we're going to work with pattern piece number 6, the front pants. Now that you have tacked down your dart for the front of your pants, we're going to take pattern piece number 5, which is the pocket, and instead of cutting 4 pieces of fabric, I cut 2 pieces of fabric and 2 pieces of lining. So we're going to take the lining piece of my pocket.
With right sides facing, you're going to match the dots of the pocket piece in the pants and pin at the notches. Now you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance from dot to dot.
And once you get finished stitching 5/8 of an inch from dot to dot on the pocket,
you're going to cut the notches to but not through all the way to the dot.
once you've done that, you're going to fold it over, wrong side of the pocket to the wrong side, and then you're going to fold these 2 pieces just like that, and fold out these 2 pieces, and these. So it should look like this on the other side. And what you're going to do is press it down and tack this flap down and this flap down, and then you're going to edge stitch the seam. Okay, now after you have tacked down the top and the bottom corners of the pocket and did a edge stitch
along the pocket opening,
so you're going to turn it over. Now you're going to take the top other piece of the pocket with the right sides facing the right side of the other pocket. You're going to lay it on top, match the notches,
By using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to start at the bottom dot of the pocket all the way up to the top edge of the pocket and then pivot over to the top dot. Now once you get up close to the edge of the top of the pocket, you're going to lift your pressure foot up and pivot. And then you're going to stitch all the way across to that dot. Then you're going to back stitch. Okay, now that you have attached your pocket, what I did, I serged my pocket closed. You can use the zigzag stitch if you don't have a serger. Also, base stitch your pocket to the top of the waist 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Just base stitch. Now we're going to work with the back of the pants, pattern piece number 8, by attaching our pleat. With right sides facing, you're going to match the notches at the top of the waist edge and pin. And match the dots. And pin, and you're going to stitch from the notch to the dot. You're going to take your back piece of your pants, matching the right sides together. Place over top of the pocket opening with notches matching, pin, and pin down all the way to the bottom edge of the pants. And now you're going to stitch the side seam using 5/8 seam allowance. Back stitch at the very beginning. And make sure the pocket opening is out of the way of your seam allowance. so you won't stitch your pocket closed.
Let's work on attaching the front seam of the pants together. So with right sides facing, you're going to match the center front seam, and then you're going to pin. Now you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch from the top to the top of the crotch.
You're gonna serge or zigzag stitch your seam closed, or you can iron it flat. It's up to you.
Now with right sides facing, you're going to attach your top to your bottom at the bottom of the waistband. So matching your side seams at the pocket seam of your pants, you're going to pin.
And you're going to base stitch using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance across the waistband edge. Now you're going to have to pin right side of interface waistband to wrong side of the front and back of the pants at the lower seam of the non-interface waistband, matching seam allowances and notches, and stitch 5/8 of an inch across. Then trim your seam allowance to a 1/4 of an inch. Now you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now once you attached your interface waistband, you have to press it flat, and then you're going to have to turn under 5/8 of an inch at the top seam of your waistband and press it inside your waistband. Now I use my measuring gauge to measure the seam allowance on the top of the interface waistband to let me know how much I had to press. And I purchased this from my local Joann fabric store. Now with matching the side seam with your waistband and your notches with your darts, you're going to pin on the wrong side and then transfer pins to the right side of the fabric. Then you can top stitch it or stitch in the ditch or slip stitch your waistband closed. Okay, with pattern piece number 9, which is the belt loops, you're going to fold the belt loop the long way with right sides facing, and then you're going to pin all the way across on the notched edge. Then you're going to stitch from the side to the top to the other side, 1/4 of an inch on the edge. Then after stitching 1/4 of an inch, you're going to turn it inside out and press. And then you're going to fold the belt loop in half and cut it. You're going to fold the belt loop ends under on each end and then press. Now you're going to take the belt loop and pin at the side seam on top of the waistband with right sides facing, and then you're going to top stitch each end of the belt loop. Now, attaching the zipper, you first will have to press down 5/8 of an inch seam allowance on the center back from the top of the collar notch to the lower zipper stop notch. Now for your visible zipper, you're going to have to iron your zipper teeth open. Now to attach your invisible zipper to the center back, you're first going to have to pin the right side of the zipper to the right side of the center back, 5/8 of an inch from the edge, starting at the notch at the top of your collar to the bottom zipper stop notch. Now what I like to do to make sure my zipper is even on both sides, I make some markings. By closing my zipper, you make the markings on the zipper at the collar seam and waistbands to make sure the zipper teeth are even on both sides, and then you're going to stitch. Now to close my center back, you're first going to pin at the center back of your pants closed at the zipper stop to the crotch. And then you're going to stitch 5/8 of an inch and then press your seam open. Now to close your center back from the zipper stop down to the crotch, you're going to have to get as close as you can to the zipper teeth without stitching the zipper teeth, and stitch that all the way down to the end of your crotch area of your pants. 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now to close your pants legs, you first have to pin at the center front and the center back crotch, matching the seams, and then you'll pin the inner seam of the pants legs. Then stitch 5/8 of an inch all the way across, and you can press your seam open, or you can zigzag or serge your seam closed. Now attaching your interface collar, pattern piece number 3, you're going to take your collar piece and press it down at the notched edge 1/4 of an inch. You're going to pin with right sides facing, matching zipper top notch to your collar, and stitch 1/4 of an inch at the center back and 5/8 of an inch across the top of the collar. Now, after stitching your collar, you're going to trim the seam allowance and make a couple notches into the seam allowance to give the collar a better, rounder fit when you turn your collar inside out. Now, after turning your collar inside out, you're going to press it flat and then you're going to pin in the seam. You could top stitch or slip stitch your collar closed. Now you have to sew together pattern piece number 11 and pattern piece number 12, the front and the back cuff together on the sides using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then once you get finished stitching the back and front cuff together, you're going to match the seams at the pants and the notches of the front and back of the pants hem to the cuff and pin. Then you're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch around the cuff and then press this seam allowance downwards. Now fold and press 1/4 of an inch on the edge of the pant cuff and then fold the cuff in half and pin on the right sides of the fabric inside the seam. And then you could do a top stitch or a stitch in the ditch or even slip stitch your pant cuff closed. Now, when attaching the bias tape around the armhole, measure armhole with 5/8 of an inch extra for the seam allowance at both ends of the bias tape. Then open the edge of the bias tape if it has a fold to it and pin on the right sides of the fabric around the armhole. Then you're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Then fold the other side of the bias tape over and press to the wrong side. Then you're going to pin and stitch 1/4 of an inch from that edge. Now we're going to put the belt together, pattern piece number 10. Take both of your pieces, the interface piece and the uninterfaced piece. At the fold line, you're going to make notches on the top and the bottom of both pieces. Now with both pieces right sides facing, you're going to match the center fold notches and pin. Now from the center notch, you're going to leave space in between the notch and pin, so you will remember not to stitch that opening closed, because that's the area you're going to leave open to turn your belt inside out. Now you're going to finish pinning all the way around your belt and take it to the machine and stitch 5/8 of an inch all the way around, leaving the space in between the center notches open. Now you're going to trim some excess seam allowance off. 1/4 of an inch should be enough all the way around your belt. Now this is the time-consuming part where you have to turn your fabric inside out. Now take your time, and you can use your point turner or something sharp to pull out your corners of your belt. Be careful and don't cut your stitches. Now you're going to press your belt flat and make sure the opening where you turned your belt inside out, fold that down inside your belt so you can top stitch that closed. Now you're going to feed either end of your belt through a 50mm belt buckle opening. Then you're going to fold over 1/4 inch and pin. And then you're going to top stitch or slip stitch that area down. Now I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Johnnie Jumpsuit. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for upcoming videos and tutorials. Take care, guys.